Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys, joining me is a Houston Dynamo Academy graduate, also attended St. Louis University, and is currently playing for the Birmingham Legion FC. And that is, of course, someone I would like to say is a dear friend. We were both co-workers at the Houston Dynamo. Mujeeb Murana, first of all, you're actually our first active player to come on the show, just letting you know.
Let's go. Let's go. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.
So yeah, so like I mentioned, me and him were former co-workers at the Houston Dynamo. So if anybody thought I was lying that I used to do people's laundry, I did it. So but of course, man, first question that we always ask people that come on is, what was it that got you into football, soccer?
For me, honestly, it's just in my blood. I don't really have a specific answer to that. I just remember one day I was alive and I started kicking a ball. And ever since, I haven't stopped.
That's a very fair answer. I think especially when you grow up in a culture where that's like the first thing they put on our feet is a soccer ball. So I can, obviously I'm not at your level, but I do agree to that I was also the same way. So obviously eventually you started playing a lot. When did you have that realization that like you're pretty good at soccer?
I would say probably around the age of 15 is when I felt that I was actually good enough to go pro. I had a coach named Darren Back from the U15 at Houston Dynamo Academy, and he instilled a lot of confidence and hard work in me. And from then, I just kind of knew that I had a chance. And if I worked really hard at it, then I might maybe one day become a pro.
You mentioned the Houston Dynamo Academy, and how did that initially come into play? Like, what level were you playing at any club before you went to the Dynamo, and how did that process go when they started reaching out to you?
Yeah, so I played at a couple local clubs. One of them is Sugarland Arsenal. The other one was West Houston Soccer Club. And my older brother, who was also in the academy, his team was pretty good. I remember they would play these like state select cups and like classic cups, and his team was pretty good. They like travel all the time. And eventually all his teammates just started leaving the team. And we're like, why are you guys leaving the team? Like, we're so good. Like, why is everybody leaving? And then we found out they were going to this club called the Houston Dynamo. So then my dad found out, oh, okay, everyone's going there and you have to go try out. So I think at the time, I don't know if they do it anymore. There was a program called a COE, or Center of Excellence, and it was a 8-week trial. So I did that 8-week trial, and from there I joined the academy at age 12, and the rest is history.
Did you feel like you had more resources? I know, I mean, from my
Being
firsthand
in the
experience with the
academy.
academy, I felt
Hmm.
like, like these kids had like a personal, like almost like a personal trainer, a whole staff, like even, like I guess someone that's tracking them on their
Hmm.
pace and all that. Is that like some things that you feel
Um,
like is an advantage over being at another club?
Definitely. I think being in the academy system, it's definitely an advantage. I think it's more serious, than, being at a local club. I think there's benefits to both sides because you don't want to coach a kid too early or tell a kid to do too much too early. And you still want to, make sure the kid is having fun. But for young players and parents that kind of know my kid has a talent or my kid is like a very determined kid, I would definitely say push him in the academy path. And because, yes, there is definitely an advantage. I think there's better coaches in the academy system, just better overall players. You know, the best players want to play with the best players. That's in Real Madrid or every like in the top level and even in U12 level, the best players want to play with the best players. So I definitely think there's an advantage.
So as you're continuing on with the academy, uh, there's that, I guess, that fork in the road, I guess, if you can say, where um it is the pro level what you want to continue pursuing or go collegiate. For you, what did you weigh? What were your options when you were weighing that in, and um, how would you compare the recruiting college recruiting process versus, I guess, how they reached you out for the academy?
Uh, so for the academy again, I think it's a little different for me. I don't really know how it works now, but back when I was 12, it was more of a you personally like went to one of these camps, or at least for me, this is my process was we just went to the camp and we trialed. I'm sure there was scouts out also at that time scouting kids and maybe kids were getting invitations, but that wasn't my process. My process was my dad just believed I was good enough to make one of these teams, and we did that. But I do think the process of collegiate recruiting and academy is pretty much the same at whatever age group. There's coaches everywhere scouting from the ages of from U10, U12 and up. And by the time we get to U16, U17, we have these showcases, which, you know, you have these national team coaches there, or you have these college coaches there that come watch your games. And that's kind of how that process goes for, you know, getting recruited and stuff. So I kind of think the academy process of getting recruited into the academy and college process is pretty much all the same.
Okay, and obviously you choose St. Louis University. What was it about that program that enticed you? I mean, there's some notable alumni from that. I mean, Brian McBride, Brad Davis, and Tim Ream, just to name a few. But
Yes,
what was it
sir.
that made you want to commit to St. Louis?
Honestly, I would say a couple of those names played a big part. I'm a defender, and you know, Tim Rim is somebody that one I look up to now. This man is he's hit the peak of his career toward the end of his career, which is just shows the commitment that he's had and the hard work that he's put in, and just you know, being able to be in an environment and you know, walk in the same locker rooms, be in the same weight room, and just you know, kind of like follow the same things these guys did. You know, that was one thing that stood out to me. I love winning. I love winning. I think we all love winning in St. Louis. You know, it's the historically we're the best college in history. So again, I think I am a person who believes in history, and you know, I think history repeats itself. Uh, so yeah, I felt it was going to put me in a good position to you know develop and stuff as a soccer player, but also St. Louis is a great school overall, and I think it has one of the best business schools in the nation. And I'm Nigerian, and education is something that's, you know, my dad's always harped on. If I were to fail a class, my dad would not let me play soccer. So when I was a kid, so I realized that early, and that's something that just stuck with me. So I kind of knew going to St. Louis, I would get the best of both worlds. So that process is kind of easy.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. So you go into the college level. You know, you went from the academy now in college. What was something that you right away was like, I need to get better at this to compete in this level?
Uh, right away, I would say the physicality in college is just more challenging than the academy level. I think in the academy level, you're still playing against kids your own age, unless you know you're one of those kids who's playing up. But I really wasn't one of those kids who got to play up. I played up maybe once or twice in my academy days. So going to the college level, the physicality is better and just tougher just because, you know, I was a freshman playing against some senior who were like 22, 23 grown men already. You know, these guys are ready to, you know, ready to compete. Like they've been doing this for the last 3 years. They've been competing at a much higher physical level. So I think kind of having to adapt to that physical level is something that was a little challenging for me. I think I remember my freshman year, I would just be in awe sometimes of the the level and just the physicality, the challenges and the tackles that players were putting in. And sometimes I would find myself scared, to go in these tackles, but eventually that's just something you develop after being in that environment for some time.
I was about to say, man, because when I met you, I was like, damn, this dude's pretty stout. So for you to
Yeah,
mention that, I mean, college did what they were supposed to, I guess. Um,
yeah,
so, so I mean, it worked wonders for sure.
yes,
Uh, so you end up getting signed to the Houston Dynamo for your first pro contract. Uh,
hmm
Obviously, this is where it all started for you with the academy. When you came back to Houston, did you feel that it was anything different from when you were last there, or was it about the same?
I think there was a lot of differences, a lot of new faces, obviously. I think a lot of the management had changed. There was a coach there though from kind of the beginning, Daniel Roberts. He was I think he got hired or was there like by my U15 year, he was also in the academy and he's still there. And Dan is somebody that I leaned on and, just worked with me a lot. And yeah, so he's a familiar face. So I don't think too much changed. But again, as you can tell, just the management has changed a little bit. So just some different faces. I do believe the club is still overall has the same goals and ambitions.
Yeah, obviously this you went in there the second were you with them for the first time for the MLS Next Pro year or was it
Yeah,
the
so my first year I was with the second team with the next pro, and then my second year I signed a homegrown with the first team.
so obviously there's some sort of I guess you could say responsibilities in that locker room um for yourself being someone that has experience playing in the college level and in that MLS Next Pro setting. It's a good mixture of guys that are trying to get into that next level, that first team spot, and a lot of
hmm
academy players. Like for you, how did you feel was your role in that locker room when you have that mixture of youth and experience?
I'm with Coach Drake here, I think. I felt like I was the rookie and the vet at the same time. That's kind of what I would just describe that as. I think my first year with the next pro team, I was in the leadership group, but that was my first year being a pro. So, that was a lot of responsibility and that's something that I wanted and blessed that, be a part of that role. Um, I think you just have to kind of contribute what you can contribute and, don't try to do too much. Some people have different leadership styles. My leadership style might not be as much vocal because I'm working on communicating more effectively, but I'm more of a example kind of guy. So yeah, that was a blessing to have that ability to just be a leader, but also just a guy learning from all the other leaders as well.
Obviously, you had you trained with the MLS Next Pro team, the Dynamo 2, but you also trained a lot with the first team. Um, was there any player that you're like, I need to pick a lot more from him?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an easy question. Any person who doesn't look at Hector Herrera and says this is a guy that I need to try to do everything that he does, then I don't know what you're doing. Hector is the best player by far that I've played with. He's played in multiple World Cups, I think three to be exact, or maybe four. And, he's a great leader. He's a guy who's a vocal leader, but he's also, he leads by example. And then I would also say Darwin Quintero was just a guy in my first year in Houston, coming out of college. I think the college game is more about physicality and stepping into that first team environment. I realized there's differences in, technique. And Darwin Quintero's he's just a different kind of player.
Yeah, shout out to Darwin. I forgot all about that guy. He was definitely a bright spot for the Dynamo for quite some time.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so obviously you're no longer with Houston. Um, Tell me how Birmingham Legion FC came to be. Like how did they reach out to you? Was there any other options that were given to you, or was this the team where you're like, I like what they're doing here and I want to go here?
I believe that me and my team, we were just, you know, thinking of how my off season would go. We put together a plan and Birmingham Legion was, kind of, the best option, we believe, for me, and it makes sense in what I want to do in my career and where I see my career going. And, my team was able to get me a trial here, and, everything else was history after that.
So far, obviously, you just got there. It's a new team, new setting for you. Uh, how are you liking the atmosphere right now in Birmingham? I mean, you guys already got your first dub in the season. You guys are off right
So,
now, but
mhm.
what's the energy right now in that locker room?
The energy is it's good. Um, I think, again, like you said, we got one dub, but one dub doesn't mean anything. It's only one game of the season. But the most important part of the season is the end of the season. So just trying to focus and really build together as a team. Getting to know each other off the field. Just building that camaraderie that really makes the difference between the winning teams and the teams that don't win. And so far, my time here in Birmingham has been fantastic. Like I said, I'm a big city kid as I grew up in Houston, but kind of switching the vibe and just being in nature and just finding value in new things. It's been a pleasure so far.
That's awesome to hear. Um, uh, you know, Obviously you've gone to go through so many levels of the game. Um, when you're thinking about that young aspiring youth player, what's
Hmm.
one word of advice that you would want to give to that player as they start their journey?
Again, this is the most important thing, and I'll always continue to say is just believe. You have to believe in yourself. Um, if you don't believe in yourself, no one will. So that's the biggest thing I can say to young players: just believe in yourself, but don't be naive either. Just because you believe doesn't mean you're gonna make it. You have to actually work for it. So yeah.
That's some really good advice. Um, Obviously, you're still very early in your career, and I think this would be an awesome way to end this interview. Would be, what has been the best piece of advice you've gotten? Could be from a coach, could be from another teammate, could be from your parents. But what has been the best piece of advice that you've gotten so far in your career?
Um, I don't know. I think that's a really tough question. I've had a lot of good coaches. I've taken a piece of advice from all of my coaches, but I think something that I would just say is just do the right thing. You know, just do the right thing overall. Again, that could be sleeping on time, watching film. I don't know, but yeah, just do the right thing, and that's something that I think you can apply to just off the field. Also, I think us as humans, we kind of know when we're making the right decisions or when we're not making the right decisions. So I think if you can apply that belief or that saying to anything you do in life, then you'll have the key to success right there.
That is perfect, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah,
Excited that you were the first player interview, first active player
nah,
we ever got to interview.
yes, sir.
You were definitely one of the guys that I remember the most. I felt very welcomed whenever I first met you with the club. Obviously being a guy that doesn't know what to do when it comes to being in a professional setting. But
Hmm.
you guys, the vibe alone, just from you guys, the guys from Dynamo too, even from the first team, it was always welcoming, and I appreciate that you guys were always like that. From my time at the Dynamo, but all in all, man, amazing person. I am definitely gonna be one of your biggest supporters, man. I hope to see big things in your career, man.
Yes,
I'll be
sir.
rooting
Yes,
for
sir.
Birmingham Legion.
Yes, sir.
I'll be rooting for you guys. I'll be watching as much USL games as I can,
Yes,
for you guys,
sir.
because and maybe one day I can drive to Alabama. It's not
Yes,
that far of a
sir.
drive.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Um,
sir.
might have a reason to visit Spencer at some point.
Yes,
But
sir.
thank you, Mujeeb. This is your time, man. I'm gonna give you whatever you want to shamelessly plug right now. What's going on in your career?
Just follow me on Instagram, Mujeeb_24. Shout out to Houston. Be someone. That's something that I take very personal, and yeah, I love my city. As yeah, I love my city, and yeah, just thank you for having me on. And again, likewise to you. I just felt very welcomed from straight away from the first day that I met you, and I just I love, just being around good people and being around good energy. And that's, yeah, just like I said, the biggest thing I could say is just one, believe in yourself, but also just do the right thing.
Appreciate that, especially with me constantly doing the corny dad joke of calling you Mo City Don. So,
But
I
also
had to say it at some point.
shout out to speaking of Mo City, shout out to Hightower High School, man. I will say I went to a predominantly black high school, and for me growing up, there weren't a lot of in the neighborhood that I grew up in, there weren't a lot of young black kids who played soccer, who most of us play football or basketball. But hey man, you guys give soccer a try. I know a lot of people didn't see the vision. I could have played football or basketball, but soccer is something had a passion for. So yeah, man, for all the people in Mo City, just one, I need your support, come support the boy, but also, yeah, man, shout out Hightower High School. And yeah, man, I'm trying to, put Mo City on in Fresno, Texas, and everybody in that environment. There's a lot of ballers out there, and I don't believe I've gotten anywhere close to where I want to be, but I'm definitely repping for the city, for Fresno and Mo City. So shout out to everybody back home.
All right, man. The Mo City Don himself, Mujeeb. Thank you so much, man. We'll definitely be keeping track of your career, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.